Hello and welcome to another edition of reviews of the Book of Boba Fett, or should we say The Mandalorian for this week?
Yes, Return of the Mandalorian.
Return of the Mandalorian indeed. So I'm Alex and with me I have Lo. How are you, Lo?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. So we are discussing the latest episode of Book of Boba Fett, which did drop a couple of nights ago on Disney+. So I thought to kick things off, I'd get your overall thoughts on the episode.
I thought I was in some weird post-vaccination because we had our boosters the other day, and hopefully that doesn't, turn some viewers away. But that's a reality. Post-vaccine fever, imagination, dream, where I imagined that we were back watching The Mandalorian. And I think I turned to you a couple of times, being like, "Are you seeing this too?" Because I was a bit confused as to what I was watching. I did enjoy it. Great episode. I just, as I said as well, I missed my cranky but kind Boba Fett from this episode.
Yeah, it was a weird one because it was a good episode of television, but it was an episode of television for a different show. I normally start with sort of positives or things I liked about the episode, but I thought maybe if I get my negative out of the way first, then I can just talk about all the things I enjoyed in the episode. But to me, the comparison I was sort of thinking of, or the really good comparison I saw online afterwards of the episode is like if you're watching, call it Star Trek The Next Generation or Stargate SG-1 or one of those shows in a particular universe, and then you get an episode during the season where, say you're watching Next Generation, you get an episode of Deep Space Nine with no context and no sort of explanation. You're suddenly like, whoa, what show did I switch on to the right show? Yeah, I can't imagine for new viewers who might have picked up the Book of Boba Fett thinking, I really liked Boba Fett in the movies. I wanted to see what happened to him after the Sarlacc pit. I haven't really bothered with The Mandalorian because I don't really enjoy all that sort of stuff. But this one looks pretty accessible for me. First 3 or 4 episodes, I'd say, yeah, they'd be kind of going along with the journey, kind of going, yep, this all makes sense to me, all good. They'd get to this episode and just think, have I switched on to the right show? It was just an interesting decision to put this right in the middle of a 7-episode season. It just feels a bit of a waste of an episode.
Yeah, it was an oddly paced episode as well. So there were parts where I was waiting for the laugh track. Because I felt like I was watching.
There's a lot of strange jokes. Yeah,
a sitcom, rather than a Star Wars episode.
I thought the humor, I think, and was it my imagination? Din seemed to be speaking a lot more in this episode than normal. Even, when he's working on the N1, which I loved. So we'll get into what we loved in a little bit. But when he's working on the N1 and he's talking to the droids and trying to get them to put things, it just seemed much more chatty than normal.
Yeah, he's talking a lot more than we have seen throughout the 2 seasons of The Mandalorian. Maybe that's the journey that we have seen him go on that journey where he kind of went from being quite the loner, for want of a better word, to being someone who, is happy to actually accept help.
Yeah.
And engage with others because he knows that he can't get through, life alone.
Yeah.
You need to be reaching out to others. So maybe it's just we've seen him change over the
seasons,
right. And it's happened so subtly that we didn't really notice it until now. Now it's just Chatterbox Mandalorian.
Yeah, well, look, so putting aside not all the things, but putting aside the issue with the episode in terms of the structure of the season so far, really enjoyed the episode. The intro to the episode with him taking the bounty, I saw this episode as basically being, this is a single dad looking after his kid who's now lost the kid, kind of reverting back to the person that he was before he had that responsibility, and he's just doing what he knows best. He's going off collecting a bounty. He's got his line, I can take you in warm or I can take you in cold.
But it's different because he's not doing it now as a means to an end. I think he is doing it now as more of a means to an end,
yes,
rather than that was his path. I think he's doing it very begrudgingly now.
So he was doing it more to get the map to where the Mandalorians were. But I more mean, I guess, his violence and things like that. He was definitely kind of just going, I'll just do my thing, and sort of, I think he's trying to distract himself from the fact that Grogu's not around anymore.
Yes.
Although I did find it I'm sort of jumping ahead a little bit. I did find it very cute when the armorer gave him the little gift for Grogu, and the wrapping was sort of in the shape of with Grogu's
I wonder
head.
what it actually is.
Yeah.
Any
yeah.
suggestions?
Or I did see a theory that, well, a few different theories. One is either he's going to take him back from Luke's academy and that's how he's going to survive the purge of Ben killing all the students. Or the other theory was that this is going to be a little set of chainmail because she was putting the rings. She was making the rings out of the Beskar spear.
Yeah.
So I wonder if it was something for him, for Grogu to wear.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a case of, you know, Ben's going to be slashing away at all the students and Grogu's going to be like, thankfully I was wearing my Beskar armor, which didn't kill me. But
who knows?
I don't know. It'll be very interesting. But yeah, so going back to, I guess we can sort of run through the episode's plot in sort of the overarching little bits. We do start off on this kind of ring world planet, which to me felt like it was straight out of Halo. But was a really cool new design. Like we haven't seen this sort of thing in Star Wars before. I thought that was a cool design.
And I don't know Halo, so
yeah. But just the whole
it was new to me.
The whole like gravity and you know, walking around on the surface of the ring. But he does find the Mandalorians again, who I don't think we'd seen since season 1. I want to say.
No.
I don't think we've seen the
armor.
I don't think we saw the armor in season 2.
I didn't even recognize it. You were like, "Oh, it's the armor," and I was like,
"Yeah." Because she was in the first. They were in the first few episodes of season 1, and I think they came back at the end of season 1 from memory. My memory is a bit foggy, but I don't think we saw them in season 2.
No.
But we get we get a lot of exposition about the Darksaber, how it worked.
Din had injured himself with.
Yes, during the fight, he got healed somewhat with a bit of Bacta, I guess. But we did get that explanation of, well, you know, it has to be won in combat. So previously, Bo-Katan had been given it at the end of Rebels and was left to rule Mandalore, and then Mandalore had all its issues, which we got to see in a bit of in flashback in this episode, which I thought was quite cool.
Mm-hmm.
But the whole concept of you have to win it in combat, so then we get the confrontation with Vizsla and who's going to win the Darksaber back, and Din very narrowly keeps hold of it.
Yes, I thought he lost it for a second.
Yeah, I thought it was quite interesting, kind of fighting right at the bottom of the space station on those walkways.
Yeah.
And when he falls off into space, and you're sort of like, is he
all
right?
Yeah.
And he comes back with the jetpack. Was quite funny. But so he basically gets healed. They melt down the Beskar spear into a gift for Grogu. He then basically admits that yes, he has taken off his helmet in front of people, which is not the way of this little subcult of theirs. I did think briefly when the armorer was like, you have to atone by going and washing in the waters under the mountain on Mandalore. I was like, oh, are we going to get a whole new subquest of, you know, before he can go to Tatooine and help Boba Fett, he's got to go off and do this thing on Mandalore, and sort of like we were getting in The Mandalorian of every week's new subquest where before you can get this, you have to help do that.
Yeah.
Thankfully we didn't get that.
I don't know. There was so much like lore and mythology that I was like with the armorer, and I'm like, aren't you wanting to get your like race back together? Like you keep talking about how everyone's spread out and like Mandalore's been destructed, but then you have someone who is committed to the cause and yes, has taken his helmet off. And if you actually ask about the circumstances, you do find that out.
Yeah.
Like you do understand why. Like it saved his life ultimately.
Yeah.
That she's just like, yep, no, we don't want you.
Yeah.
Bye. Like that annoyed me. I was like, this whole scene was.
And off you go with the Darksaber, which is sort of the most valuable icon of our society. They
could have cut that whole. They could have had him find the armorer, get the thing for Grogu, and then like move on, and then that's it. And I know they wanted to probably talk about the Darksaber a bit more, but
I do feel like, and going back to things we didn't like, I do feel like this whole season has suffered a bit with pacing, and I feel like there's some elements throughout the show where it's felt much more dragged out than it's needed to be, and other elements where you think we probably needed a bit of extra detail.
Also, I'm watching Boba Fett. I don't care about the Mandalorian laws at this point in time.
Well, that's right.
Season 3.
That's right, and that's when I come back to you're watching an episode of Deep Space Nine within Next Generation, or the comparison I was even thinking of is like it's like you're watching a season of Breaking Bad, and then you suddenly get an episode just about Jesse, rather than Walter White. And it's like, well, that's not the person whose show it is.
Yeah.
Where I almost feel like you could have had
say Jesse because he's too involved. This is like another character that pops,
Well, I was going to say, so you could almost have had this episode have been a normal Boba Fett episode.
Fennec Shand.
Yeah, well, that's right. Have Fennec Shand encounter the Mandalorian at the end of the episode, and then us saying, "Oh, what was he doing on Tatooine? Oh, he's just built a new ship. How come we didn't get to see that?" And then season 3 of Mandalorian, you get the episode from his point of view. You then have a whole lot more time within your limited 7-episode series to tell Boba Fett's story.
It does make you question, like, did they not have enough to pad out 7 episodes?
That's right. And I sort of tweeted that out the other day, that I think this is sort of showing, with the amount of flashback that we've had with this now side quest into the Mandalorian, did they actually have 7 episodes, or was this basically a subplot within the Mandalorian that they've gone, well, if we add a bit here and do this there, we can make it into a 7-episode series. Be interesting.
And if they'd had like half, I think I would be fine as well, because it was the whole episode.
Well, that's what I almost wonder, whether if we'd had scenes with the Mandalorian throughout the series.
I thought I was just having a bad reaction.
So he leaves the Mandalorian society. He then jumps on a ship to Tatooine, which is very, as you sort of said at the time, it was great to sort of see like a day in the life of a normal citizen of the galaxy.
It kept messing with my head, like, there was so many human-like characters, or, you know, aliens that looked human. But then also, like, he gets on what would be the equivalent of, like, an airplane here. And we see him sitting on the airplane, going about his business, out his, like, his everyday chores, the kid interacting with him in the front seat, like in the seat in front of him. And I was just like, what am I watching? Again, I was waiting for the laugh track. I felt like I was watching a sitcom, and then he arrived at Tatooine and was with
what's her name? I've got it here. Pelimotto.
Yes. And like that just continued. I honestly thought, I was like, the fever has hit me.
Yeah, it's a weird, like, that character on Tatooine, Pelimotto. I
like her.
Don't mind her, but I think sometimes the humor goes too far or is just too much. And again, that comes back to my ideas around pacing, and the fact that we get half the episode, I want to say, third of the episode devoted to building or reconstructing the N1 starfighter. I mean, great to have a little montage, great to have a little sequence, and then him flying it. But we get a lot of it, and it just got to a point where I'm watching it just going, okay, like, I get it. We're building the ship. We're getting jokes. We're seeing droids. And it was great to see the little BD droid, which was straight out of Jedi Fallen Order. So it's out of one of the video games, which was great to see. And they've just announced they're doing a sequel to that game. Yes, so it's very, very convenient or interesting timing between those two. But
yeah, there was a lot of just stuff.
She dated a Jawa, you know.
That was
very.
I did really enjoy that.
That was funny. That was funny, but
overall, I really enjoyed the episode.
Yeah.
What I feel like I'm questioning is just like, it's Boba Fett. Like, I wanted to watch Boba Fett. Like, if this was an episode in season 3 of The Mandalorian, I probably would have felt like I'm watching a sitcom, but I wouldn't have felt so confronted by it.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed being able to see like the everyday part. Like, as I said, I thought I was losing my mind when he was just getting onto like the starship and, traveling to Tatooine like a normal, regular citizen, like that, and that stuff. Like, I enjoyed seeing, but I question its appropriateness, I guess, as part of the Book of Boba Fett.
That's right, and it comes back to, and I think I said this in last week's episode, that I almost feel like this show should have been called The Mandalorian: The Book of Boba Fett, so that anyone picking it up would know this is part of a larger show. This is something that is sort of an interlude, or it's a subsection of Boba Fett, of Mandalorian. It's basically season 2.5, because this episode felt like an epilogue to season 2 or a sort of a prologue to season 3 of The Mandalorian, not an episode of Boba Fett, which is then fine if you're going to say, for example, that Mandalorian season 3 will have a Boba Fett episode.
Yeah.
Or, Ahsoka will have a Boba Fett episode, because those Ahsoka, Boba Fett, Bo-Katan, if that gets made as well, Mandalorian, are all basically the same show overall. They're just following different characters.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that makes a point. I did enjoy, like I said, I enjoyed the humor and stuff overall. I liked that Pelimotto was like, yeah, I've dated a Jawa, and was able to communicate with them quite well. And like Jawas are a bit cheeky. I love that they stole the parts from the Pike spice ship, and we got a bit more of I guess, the narrative of Pike.
Yeah.
Pikes.
Yeah.
So I'm saying Pike like we're watching Game of Thrones. The Pikes.
Yeah.
And like their being in Tatooine and, you know, what they've been doing. I really enjoyed actually watching them build the ship.
Oh yeah, look, I mean, and that's why that was interesting. I still just think as a montage, it maybe works better because we just got a bit too much of it. Like, I liked and didn't like at the same time. We got the whole that pole that he was putting into the ship that he tried to get the carbonite.
That's what they saw from the Pikes. Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what? That's an Easter egg from.
No,
in episode 4, when they're stuck in the trash compactor on the Death Star.
Oh, that's what they use.
They use the pole.
Yeah.
Things like that. I'm like, I like it, but at the same time, I'm just like, okay, we're getting like little things.
Well, we even got like the route that he went down when he was flying the ship is the pod race track. Which,
that was great.
Yeah, I'm like, that was pretty cool. I thought I initially thought it was a pod racer, and I was like, is she really giving him a pod racer?
Yeah. I'm a little confused about Tatooine's geography though, because if he was in Mos Eisley and he's flown across to, I mean, look, it's a fast ship. He could have flown halfway around the planet. We don't know, but geography is a little bit confusing.
And I had to laugh when he got pulled over by the same guys who keep pulling him over.
And that was one of those things, bits of humor where I was like, it just feels
like a sitcom.
I feel like there were elements of this episode which, as you said, it just felt like everyday life. It felt like a sitcom, like sitting on the starship with the little kid in front of him, getting pulled over for speed. And I'm just like, I get it. You're trying to be like, this is normal life in Star Wars. But I was like, do we want it to feel like I'm watching normal life in Star Wars?
I would love to watch like a series that is normal life in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Like, I think I would be fascinated by that. Again, I don't think this is the time and place.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. That's right. And that's what I'm thinking. Yeah. But then that's basically the episode. So yeah, I mean, we get Fennec Shand then coming in to say to the Mandalorian, Boba needs your help. Here's some money to do the job. He says, it's on me. I'll just help out a friend. But first of all, I got to go say hi to my little green friend.
I'm like, what was the point of that whole episode if he's not even just going to help Boba straight away? Like, are we going to get another episode that is the Mandalorian visiting? Sorry, I'm jumping ahead to your the Mandalorian visiting Grogu, and like, is that another whole episode? Is that going to be episode 6?
I don't think so. I don't think we'll get, because I think this is their way.
Are they going to start like a battle and the Mandalorian will come halfway through and save the day? I think that, dark saber. That's what I'm thinking.
I think this is their way, because everyone after Luke appeared in the finale of season 2 was like, are we going to see more CGI Luke? Are we going to see his academy? Blah, blah, blah. This is their way. And it's, in a way, it is quite clever to do it this way, where we can be like, well, we're leaving Din Djarin now to go off and see Luke and see Grogu and give him the gift. Then in the finale of Boba Fett, he can come back and it's like, well, that's all happened off screen. And I actually wouldn't even be shocked if he comes back in the finale with Grogu and then is like, he's done his time at the academy, he's joining back up with me, and season 3 of Mandalorian can start with Grogu back, and it's not an issue of where's Grogu, what's happening with Luke's academy or anything like that.
I don't think he will have done his time yet.
Well, maybe not, but I think that's a way that they could do it,
Surely
where it all happens
not like
off screen.
Summer school, 6 weeks and you're done. You're a Jedi. Congrats.
Well, I think Din's sort of saying, I don't think he should be a Jedi. He should be a Mandalorian.
Yes.
So I think Grogu's going to have to make a choice.
He was a foundling. Yeah.
So I was just going to say, so overall favorite moments of the episode, because one thing we didn't touch on that I really liked was on, I don't know the name of the ring world. I did see it mentioned somewhere. I think it's in the credits, but the Halo world, that tracking shot when he gets into the elevator, gets out of the elevator, goes over to the person who had the bounty, then back into the elevator. It was all basically a single shot, and I really enjoyed that because it feeds into that real world vibe of like, we're actually just going through a set and it's, a whole thing.
Even them in the elevator with the other alien like looking him up and down, and just, I was like, it just did not feel like Star Wars. Again, I loved it, but just time and place. No, I enjoyed that. That was some good camera work.
So really well directed by Bryce Dallas Howard.
She's a great director.
So she's done 3 really good episodes now. I think she's back for Mandalorian season 3 as well. I would think surely she's going to be teed up for her own series soon.
Hopefully. She's very talented.
One suggestion I've seen is whether she should be the one to do a solo TV show, which would be quite appropriate considering who directed the movie Solo.
Yes.
So that could be an avenue for her into a larger project
Yeah.
potentially.
I don't know. Like this episode, I felt like was not all over the place, but I can't work out what exactly I liked. I enjoyed the whole episode.
Yes, but it was a different show.
But I was also just questioning my like mental reality at that point in time.
I think everyone sort of said it's a great episode of a different television show.
Yeah.
So it was just a very strange experience, but very enjoyable at the same time. So we've got 2 episodes left. We've already sort of touched on it a bit, but what do you think we'll get over the next 2 episodes?
I don't know, because I couldn't have predicted this episode. So Lord knows. I'm like, again, please give me back cranky old man Boba.
I mean, obviously next episode's just going to be Lando off doing something on a random world, right?
Fennec Shand's just recruiting people.
Well, yes, that's
what it could be.
Yeah,
like
that's what I think. I almost think that's what we'll get for the next episode. Will be another. He's got Black Casantan now. He's got Din Djarin back as well. Maybe we get name has gone out of my head. Cad Bane from the Clone Wars animated show, who's a bounty hunter who has connections to Boba Fett.
Mm-hmm.
Could be another one to pop up in live action. The other suggestion was maybe we'll get Bosk, who's the Trandoshan who was in episode 5, who also knows Boba Fett from being a kid. So there's a few other characters that could pop up. My concern is we've got 2 episodes left. You sort of said before, I mean, we get a bit more of the Pikes, but I still don't see what's their threat. Why does Boba need all of this muscle when I think the worst that the Pikes have done is they sent those assassins that Boba dealt with pretty easily. They had to train in the flashbacks, but he dealt with that as well. What's their big threat? What is the need for all? Like, we haven't seen them be dangerous yet.
They're taking the spice, and then now I'm getting confused with June.
Yeah,
we watched that over the weekend.
I feel like the Hutts have been more of a threat than the Pikes.
Yes.
And
do you reckon the Hutts and Pikes are working together? I reckon they are. Like they've got to come back to it. I
think next episode has got to have something happen. Either Boba tries to take on the Pikes and gets smacked.
Yeah.
Maybe the Chrome Gang get killed.
Oh.
Something happens. Or something significant has to happen to raise the stakes so that in episode 7, we're sitting there, or chapter 7, we're sitting there saying, what's going to happen? Like, there are high stakes here. We've only got 2 episodes left. There's a lot that's got to happen.
Yeah. I don't know. I honestly will wait and see.
We'll wait and see. But overall, you liked the episode?
Yeah, I did.
I did
like it. I did like it overall.
Yeah, I thought there was lots of little callbacks to, I think especially episode 1, or as in the Phantom Menace, not the first episode of the season.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's why they've deliberately called these chapters to avoid that confusion. Yes. But lots of nice callbacks to episode 1. I thought the N1 Starfighter popping up was really cool.
Yes, so did I.
Don't know how he's going to use that as his ship because I don't think there's enough room in there for his bounties and
it's a little
toilet
empty,
and everything.
Empty.
That's for Grogu.
And I figured that's what she put it there for. But like, it's fast enough that he can just go bang bang. And
I did see the suggestion that if he puts his bounties in carbonite, he could just like tie them on the back and just tow them along. They don't need to be inside the ship.
Or he just continue to do what he did with the other guy, just chop off their head.
Exactly. You don't need much space for a severed head, do you? No. So, lots of nice little references and callbacks. I think on the whole done pretty well. Like there wasn't anything that you rolled your eyes at any sort of references to anything. I thought the locations were great. That Halo world again felt like Star Wars to me in the sense that it felt populated, it felt busy, it felt like the effects and everything were really good. It felt like a normal location. So I really did enjoy that. One comment I did see, which I did want to see more of, was with the 2 X-Wings out in space as the New Republic patrol. It seems a little bit weird that there's just X-Wings traveling around doing things. I'd like to see like a patrol ship or something a bit bigger and, not a bit more significant.
We're like very small.
It just fits. Well, we're a small world, but it just seems like everything's happening on Tatooine. I'm like,
it is a place to be.
Cruise ships docking there because everyone wants to go on a holiday to Tatooine, don't they?
There was a lot of people getting on and off that.
Anyway, what did you think of the episode? Give us a comment down below on what you liked or didn't like about this episode. Or as always, hit like on the video as well. Subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. We've got plenty of content always coming out to keep you entertained. But otherwise, it's a goodbye from me.
Bye.
Thanks for watching.